So, today's video is of course going to be like the last video, which is going to be a discussion video. Now this one is not going to hopefully be as long as the other one, but this is going to be a discussion video because it's going to pertain on a certain topic that is on this particular day, and as you know, this day that I'm filming this on is on Thursday, so I think you can quite put two and two together. But you know what, cue in the intro and let's talk about what we're going to talk about today. Alright? So like I said, this is going to be on Thursday, which is of course Thanksgiving, and that's what we're going to be talking about. So this is obviously not going to be posted on Thanksgiving because of course you can see that it's not posted on Thanksgiving, it's posted after Thanksgiving. So that way I can maybe influence you guys on why I don't celebrate it and why maybe you guys shouldn't or reconsider actually celebrating it in a different kind of way and in a different kind of manner. But let's get on with the discussion video and let's talk about me and Thanksgiving. Alright, so here we are. I'm sitting on my bed because I don't know why I'm sitting on my bed, but I guess because this is where I'm going to have my discussions at the moment. And also, like I said, this isn't going to be that long of a video, so, well, hopefully it isn't that long of a video, but in the end, we're just going to have a nice discussion, so this is where I'm going to be for now. So let's get ready for this discussion and let's talk about, of course, the subject that I said we're going to be talking about, which is Thanksgiving. Now, my thoughts and opinions on Thanksgiving. I am actually someone who doesn't really like to celebrate Thanksgiving. For me, I like to think of it as it's just another Thursday, except the difference is you get to eat a lot more food. So basically, it's like a cheat day in a sense. So basically, that's how I think of it. Just a normal average Thursday. The only difference is you get to eat a lot more food, and it just has to do with a turkey and mashed potatoes. Is like the main theme of it. Oh, and pumpkin pie, of course. But like those are the main ingredients in a sense that you have to focus on that day. But other than that, I really don't celebrate Thanksgiving, appreciate Thanksgiving, nor acknowledge it. And the reason why that is because growing up, we are obviously taught that Thanksgiving is this day where you're supposed to be thankful and giving and all this and that and all these nice, beautiful things and, you know, sweet and nothing but peace and love and happiness and all that yada yada that we all are, you know, taught and thinking that that's what Thanksgiving is. But of course, obviously, I think we all know that as we grow up, Thanksgiving really isn't that holiday that really doesn't represent what it is, and instead does more of the opposite of what it did and what it represents. Thanksgiving is a date that I don't really celebrate nor acknowledge nor appreciate because it's really a holiday that doesn't represent what it's supposed to. We were supposed to be thankful and giving because during this time we were colonizers and the only things we had were very limited, and so with Indians we were trying to respect them and know that we were friends with them and respect them, you know, because they were very giving to us and that we should be thankful for that. But of course, obviously, that's not what the case was. We instead took away their land, gave them nothing in return, and as a result, here they are today, fighting to protect whatever bit of land they have left. And even though, it is, you know, quite crappy land, they still want to have it because it's the only thing they have left, and so they just want that to be respected. And as a result, we, on the other hand, don't care. And so in the end, if we have a majority of what they have, it's like, why not just take the last bit of it away from them and shove it in their faces like we've been doing for the past hundreds of years. So yeah, that's why I don't really necessarily like Thanksgiving, because it's not really true representation of what it is we are supposed to believe that holiday represents, when it doesn't represent that at all. Pretty much for me, it's kind of like Columbus Day, where it's like Columbus didn't even discover America, let alone the United States of America. So why do we have a day celebrating that where kids don't go to school? Like, no, he didn't discover America at all. But of course, that's how we learn. We're taught as that he did discover it. When in the end, he didn't discover it. He actually discovered, I think, what was it, like Jamaica, Cuba, and all those other places. So yeah, that's what he discovered. But of course, as we treat it as like, oh, he discovered America, and no, that's not the case. And of course, he did a lot of the same things that we did with indigenous people after Thanksgiving. He didn't do nothing for them. Instead, he was doing terrible things to them, and so it's like, why are we respecting that kind of person? So yeah, just like Columbus Day, where I feel like it's a day that indigenous people should be represented, we unfortunately do not do that. Instead, we celebrate a man who did terrible things, and just like on Thanksgiving, a day where it should be celebrated with indigenous people, instead we make it a day about how it's this whole nice thing, when apparently this whole nice thing that we did was for nothing, because instead we did bad things to indigenous people after that holiday, when the whole point of the holiday was to be nice, and we didn't even do that. So yeah, that's my view on Thanksgiving. So that's Thanksgiving, a day that I do not like to celebrate or acknowledge, because it's basically a hypocrisy to what the day is. The day is meant to be thankful for what you have and giving, whether that be love, peace, and all this other good stuff. But apparently that's not the case, because obviously it's a complete lie, because we never did the thanking nor the giving on that day, when we were colonizers, and instead took back on that whole thanking and giving, and just instead gave them nothing, and were thankful that they were weak, and that since they were weak, we were able to take away their land from them. Um, and that's just it. For me, it's not a day that represents anything good, and I'm all about representing good things. I feel like indigenous people are not being represented and respected, so that's why I don't want to respect or represent a holiday that doesn't go on its word, and it's just something that people use as a way to, take happiness and love, but instead don't realize that it doesn't respect love and happiness, because if it did, we wouldn't, be having these situations that we are having today. Obviously, Native Americans and indigenous people are somewhat dealing with the same thing as African Americans. We have this whole Black Lives Matter, which I feel like we shouldn't even need to be having, because it's like, why should we have it? But unfortunately, we're in this state of mind where we still have to be discussing about this, because obviously African Americans are not being respected or represented as people, and so that's why we need to keep talking about this. Just like Native Americans and indigenous people, they're not being respected nor represented, so we have to talk about it, because obviously that's just what we have to do. Sure, Black Lives Matter is much more different in a sense, because they are wanting to be respected and acted as people and represented as people, and that they're no different than the white man. And whereas Native Americans, they just want to be respected and represented, and represented as, people, where they just want their land to be respected, and they want their culture to be respected, and they just want to be left alone in peace. So even though their reasonings as to why being respected and represented is different, they still have the same issue, where they just want to be respected and represented as people, and not as if like they're these aliens or enemies of the people. They just want to be respected and represented. And unfortunately, they are not getting that, and unfortunately, that's why they have to keep fighting in order to get that representation, when there is basically no need for it. But of course, we as a society keep on failing people who are of different races and ethnicities, because unless you're only white and straight, you get all the benefits of representation and just the world loving you and adoring you. But if you are not white or straight, it's like you don't get none of that. So as someone who is part of the LGBTQ community, even though I don't have as much oppression, and I don't have as much struggles as like African Americans or indigenous people, at the same time, since I have little respect as a person, I understand their struggle. I may not understand fully their struggle, nor even understand the pain that they have gone through. At the same time, I'm just me not getting respected as a person just for the fact that I'm part of the LGBTQ community makes me understand at least a little bit of their pain and just a little bit of the reason as to why they want to be respected as people. So, well, obviously, since a lot of people like to think we're still living in the 17th century or 18th century, that's why I always want to represent and show my support for these people, because I want them to know that I too have had little representation as LGBTQ plus person, so I want to be there for them, and because it's the right thing to do. So, that is the reasoning as to why, like I said, I don't support Thanksgiving, because it's not something that is true to its meaning. It's a holiday that doesn't represent what it's about, but of course the straight white people want you to believe that that is what Thanksgiving is, but unfortunately that's far from the truth, and that's why I rather not acknowledge it or celebrate it, because it's just a lie, and it's not true representation of what the holiday is, and instead tries to hide the fact of something that was bad and was something where in the end we were just taking away things from other people. So yeah, that's my view on Thanksgiving. It's a holiday that I do not celebrate nor acknowledge, and to be honest, I really even don't think my family and I, we don't even celebrate or acknowledge it, you know? A lot of people on Thanksgiving, they decorate the house, bring their family over. We just do, you know, normal day. We don't do anything special. Like I said, we treat it like any other Thursday, except the only difference is, since obviously my mom works at a school, I don't know if the school gets it from the church or if there are parents who go to that church, and since a lot of the parents like the way my mom takes care of the children, they always give her gifts, and since she's not one to reject, heck, you know, she takes this. I should have taken a picture of it, but it's like a little paper that you get, and then you go to the church and they give it, and you give it to them on Thanksgiving. Well, not on Thanksgiving, but like a certain day. But what they do is they give you things for Thanksgiving, so they give you the basics, like, you know, stuffing, pumpkin pie, mashed potatoes, turkey. And since, like I said, my mom doesn't want to be rude and rejected, she always gets that paper, and on the day that she's supposed to go, she goes and gets the Thanksgiving things. And then, of course, since it's on the day of Thanksgiving, she cooks it. But I feel like if she didn't get any of that stuff, I feel like we would just celebrate it like any other day. Hey, but since we get the turkey stuff and all that, we don't celebrate Thanksgiving. We just see it as a day where it's like, oh, there's just one day of the year where, you know, it's a Thursday that just so happens to have turkey on it. Turkey. Like, you know, that's how I see it, and that's how I view it. It's just a day where the main focal point of food is just a turkey, and that's the only thing about it. But other than that, I really don't celebrate it. Heck, look at me right now. Look at the way I'm dressed. If I really saw Thanksgiving as a holiday, it would be all dressed up and looking pretty and having my makeup and all that and dressed nice. But since I don't appreciate that holiday nor want to acknowledge it, I'm just dressed like this because that's how I view it. It's a holiday that really in the end was not good representation and was just being shitty towards a bunch of people and giving them a false hope and ideal. So yeah, Thanksgiving, we don't practice. I think it's a holiday that me and my family wouldn't celebrate. I feel like since my mom just gets stuff that has to do with Thanksgiving, and she just has to cook this turkey that I'm pretty sure she doesn't want to cook, but she obviously has to cook it because obviously since it's on the day of Thanksgiving, she's like, might as well cook it to get rid of it, and then that's it. But I feel like she doesn't have a pleasure cooking it, and just like me, I really don't have a pleasure in wanting to celebrate it since it has such a negative representation to it. So yeah, that's just my thoughts, and that's just the way I view things. You don't have to necessarily agree. You can somewhat agree, or you can completely agree with me. But in the end, that's just my true, honest opinion on the holiday of Thanksgiving. So that's my little discussion video on Thanksgiving and how I see it and all this and that, my views and opinions on it. So yeah, now this video may be posted on Friday, and if that's the case, that means it was on Black Friday when I post this, and I hope you guys had a nice time shopping and getting what you guys wanted, and I hope you guys had a nice day. Me on the other hand, I didn't go shopping on Black Friday because actually after I posted my closet tour video, I ended up getting even more clothes. So it was kind of like, I don't need to go shopping on Black Friday. Hey, I got a whole bunch of new clothes, so I'm all good here. But if you did go shopping on Black Friday, I hope you guys had a nice time and had a good time shopping, getting all the things you wanted, and having a nice day too. So yeah, and also, my schedule has been kind of different, for these last two videos, and I will give a little discussion on that on my next video about the whole scheduling thing and all this and that. But yeah, that'll be in the next video. So I'm not going to talk about it here. I'm going to talk about it in my next video. So yeah, that's it. But other than that, I hope you guys learned something. And I just did this video because I wanted to bring awareness on Indigenous people, because they are a group of people who are not being respected nor represented by society. And as someone who's part of the LGBTQ community, as a person of the LGBTQ community, has to fight for my respect and representation as a person. So as someone who has to do that, I feel like I have to also show my support for people who have to fight for their respect and representation, because I have to do it as well. So this was just me trying to show support and bring awareness to Indigenous people who are not being respected or represented as people. So yeah, that's why I did this video as a discussion. So yeah, so that's it. I hope you guys, like I said, I hope you guys learned something from this video, even if it was just a little bit. But yeah, that's it for this video. I'll see you guys in the next one. So bye.